We are not drilling a safe, okay? We are just making it look like we are.
What is it, Conan?
I think we're not walking out of here with any cash.
What? No cash?
Oh, no. You are not telling me we're holding up a bank and not taking any money out of it. You're not telling me that right now, are you?
Can you just try to understand? We are not here by accident.
The heist genre has literally been around since the beginning of filmmaking. Since filmmaking was an art form, we have been interested in robbers, elaborate burglaries, their motives, and the story behind them.
You mean there's going to be two other guys in on the deal, and we ain't going to know who they are?
That's right. You don't know who they are, and they don't know who you are. That makes sense to you, doesn't it?
Yes, I guess so, but
Makes sense to me, all right.
And I mean the beginning, with the Great Train Robbery by Edwin S. Porter being released to a mass audience in 1903. This was quite literally one of the first narrative short films, shifting the medium from novelty to plot-based films. Edwin S. Porter used the Great Train Robbery to show off the Edison Manufacturing Company's new techniques, such as the zoom, close-ups, and most famously, the final shot, where the leader of the train robbery gang points his pistol directly at the camera and unloads it. It set up what would become the standard once heist movies started being a thing, making the story into a procedural, from robbery to escape to capture. The first official heist movie as such was The Asphalt Jungle in 1950. Starring Sterling Hayden, Sam Jaffe, and Lewis Calhern, debuted in 1950, directed by John Huston.
everything's here. The soft spot's an old steam tunnel. Manhole's on the corner. You drop into the manhole at 11:45. They cover you. You break through the wall. It'll take about 6 minutes to get into Belletier's from the furnace room.
The brutal, gritty noir film shows a jewel robbery that takes place in a small Midwestern city and the fallout after the robbery is done.
What do you say, Dix?
He's got no say. He makes a crooked move, he'll never pitch another forkful of manure.
He's got us, Doc. Toss him the bag.
You're not as dumb as you look.
The elements of the robbery, from the forming of a team of skilled criminals, to the elaborate planning, to the shooting of the film from the perspective of the criminals, as well as giving each member of the team understandable and realistic, even sympathetic reasons for wanting the money. They want to pay off debts, to buy back property they lost. They aren't just seasoned criminals. And of course, the job that was supposed to be easy and quick instantly faces multiple complications, leading to violence, double-crossing, and suspense.
Don't bone me.
Now, look, I'm not boning.
Did I ever welch?
Nobody said you did.
You just boned me.
Look, Dix,
I'm not asking you any favors. I'll go get you your 2,300 right now.
This movie has continued to be famous for a different reason, marking one of the first film debuts of one Marilyn Monroe.
I had the market send over some salt mackerel for you. I know how you love it for breakfast.
Some sweet kid.
Soon after The Asphalt Jungle, the genre started exploding. One of the most famous examples was, of course, Stanley Kubrick's The Killing in 1956, which also cast Sterling Hayden and showed a robbery planned at a racetrack. This movie was Kubrick's attempt at this nascent genre, and has many of the same elements as The Asphalt Jungle in a bolder setting.
And the other one starts the fight in the bar.
These other fellas, how much are they cutting in for? Not that I mind. Anything you do is okay, but...
These men are not going to be in on the basic scheme. They're getting paid to perform certain definite duties at a certain definite time, and they're not cutting in on the take.
The years between 1955 and 1975 were considered the most productive for the heist genre, even as other types of noir setups, like the private detective film, became old news. Heist movies thrived, and it's easy to see why. Setting up a team gives a good reason to cast a variety of well-known actors in interesting roles with a ton of range. However, from 1975 to the 1990s, the heist genre was kind of pushed aside, reaching a low point. Although some filmmakers like Michael Mann, Steven Soderbergh, and John Woo, who would make big contributions to the resurgence, were working on their early work during the period. Michael Mann, whose iconic crime film Heat would be a big part of the resurgence, made his debut with the film Thief in 1981.
You can't see day for night.
I can see my money is still in your pocket, which is from the yield of my labor. What gratitude? You're making big profits from my work, my risk, my sweat, but that is okay.
In 1992, Quentin Tarantino released Reservoir Dogs. We talked about this a couple months ago, but Tarantino's technique of not showing the actual heist and only showing the aftermath and lead-up was incredibly novel. In the mid-1990s, films like Heat and The Usual Suspects helped lead to a resurgence of heist movies. This also coincided with the tangentially related subgenre of the heist film, the hacker movie. As far back as The Italian Job in 1969, computer hackers were often used as part of the team that would make up the heist gang. In The Italian Job, Michael Caine gets a team together, including Professor Peach, played by Benny Hill, who hacks the Turin traffic monitoring computer. In 1982, it wasn't a heist film, but the film Tron basically set the hacker genre in motion. Computers were everywhere in the 1990s and early 2000s, and of course, they began to feature heavily into the resurgent heist genre. Guy Ritchie exploded onto the scene in 1998 with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then began churning out high-paced British heist action crime movies. And a remake of the 1960s Rat Pack film Ocean's 11 became a huge franchise for Steven Soderbergh. The Ocean's franchise would bring many of those hacking ideas into a huge big-budget heist franchise. All of this to say, the heist genre has undergone many transformations, and it feels like every iteration of this genre has been explored. But our guest tonight, Rick Ives, found a refreshing and novel way to tackle it with tonight's film, Solid Rock Trust.
I really like contained thrillers, and I really like bank heists. And I started thinking, what's in all of these? We've got romantic scenes, we've got action scenes, we've got death scenes, we've got suspense and drama. So when I was writing this, I wanted to try to figure out how to put those together in a way I had never seen before, or maybe no one had seen before.
Solid Rock Trust has Coco Marshall playing the central role Maddie, who is a computer genius who puts together heists from a warehouse. She's able to hack into banks, and as we find out, was a lottery winner who lost her mom in one of the many tragic lottery-related deaths we have in this country. When poor Americans with substance abuse and mental health issues get access to a huge amount of lottery money in a short amount of time, as a one-time win, it can be tragic.
Doesn't seem very fair. It was meant for someone who deserves it.
Deserves it? The government swears they're paying for schools and parks while they're lining their own pockets. This is not a charity. This is a scam to get the poor to pay higher taxes. And when someone finally does win, you know the story by heart. Cue the tailspin that leaves them worse off than ever. This is a country-sized casino, and the house always wins.
What Rick does in Solid Rock Trust is that we don't actually see the heist. We see Maddie doing a stellar performance from her warehouse on the phone with the team she's set up. Maddie has this team largely as a distraction, staging a robbery at a bank so her boyfriend can leave the room, go upstairs, and put a thumb drive into a computer that holds lottery winnings.
Yeah,
Just checking in. You feel ready?
sure, I'm ready. What do you think? I'm ready, okay? You hired Americans for your job. Maybe you should count on us to be professionals.
I know you can do your jobs. I'm just doing... You know what? It's fine. Just wait for the signal. Oui?
Hold on a sec. Since we're all waiting for this dog and pony show to get started, once we see the quote-unquote signal, how are we supposed to know who the others are? I mean, me and Ansel haven't even met anyone else yet.
One of the tellers is Rowan. He'll come to you when the time is right.
This gives Maddie access and control to where the money goes, while law enforcement is paying attention to the other robbery. Rick Ives has been an assistant editor for some of the biggest franchise movies from the MCU, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Endgame, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But here we see relatively unknown actors and actresses in Rick's writing and directing debut. This feels almost like a radio play or a true crime podcast. We visualize most of what's going on ourselves, which is bold, but Coco Marshall's performance makes it an easy and worthwhile watch.
Do not shoot anyone.
Who is this?
It's me. Come on, mate. Don't you recognize me?
Wow, that's great. She was saying something about you not being French. I told her you weren't French in the first place.
I know. I'm sorry that I lied. I promise I was just trying to keep everybody safer.
Sure, I mean, I don't care as long as we're still getting paid, right? Things are finally turning around for me.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends has a new split LP with Lung Adult Prom available now on Bandcamp. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Kristina Oakes, This Barbie is streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cosmopolitics. Send her some subs on Twitch. Rick Ives is the director and writer of Solid Rock Trust, runs Flashbowl Films, and has been the assistant editor for Marvel Studios' MCU movies including Thor Ragnarok, Avengers Endgame, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I, of course, am your host, who's putting together a team for one last job, Forrest Miller. Let's get this cash money.
Yo, that was incredible.
Welcome to the show, Rick.
Thank you. Man, I wish I had watched the first half of that before I ever made this movie. It was so good for like what goes into a heist movie, what like where this comes from and all the tropes, why they're there. Oh man, I just love
I took a noir class in college. That's how I watched The Asphalt Jungle and Stanley Kubrick's The Killing. Like those are like, you know, the two first big ones.
Yeah.
And like yeah, so like that's where I got like the information about the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's cool. It's all there in those movies, like the big crew and the easy plan, and then it all goes wrong and everyone's double crossing everyone. Oh man, love that.
Well, it's just it's such an easy, I think, genre to like put, you know, like a big like a bunch of talented actors kind of together. Like
yeah,
the
totally.
original Ocean's 11 is just the Rat Pack, and they're like using it as a vehicle for the Rat Pack to make like a movie with like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., like all of them doing a heist. And so like it's kind of fascinating that that it survived as long as it has, you know, and it's gone like gone through a lot of iterations lately, I think, because it's a lot more fun to, you know, like now that we have like CGI, like hacking and all this different stuff. But like the original you know, bunch of like heist movies are just the same basic plot, because they're like, all right, we can get like character actors and some big actors, put them together, have like a big team of people just doing shit.
Yeah, it's so simple to get an ensemble. And then the fun thing about heist movies is they're bad guys, but we're rooting for them, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's fun to like kind of be bad a little bit, like what they're doing is illegal. I would never do this, but you're still kind of cheering them on. And I bet for actors, it's so fun to step into that role, like be the bad guy that everyone roots for.
Yeah, well, and also like I mean, they always have to have like a sympathetic backstory. Like you did a really good job giving, you know, Coco Marshall's like, you know, the Maddie character a sympathetic backstory with the whole lottery thing, and finding a way that like the government really is kind of scum, like with how they put together the lottery system and how poor people really are taxed through that. And like, because I go to like the gas station and stuff, and you get behind somebody who clearly shouldn't be buying like $500 worth of lottery tickets.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, like, so you found a perfect way to like make it even more sympathetic, I think, because it's like, yeah, well, kind of fuck the government then. Like, you know, like I don't really care if you steal the lottery money.
Well,
like,
the way to make a good anti-hero is make their enemy even eviler than them.
Yeah, although you
So
have
you
like
really
friendly,
just gotta-
I like how you have like a friendly cop but like a scumbag government. It's good. I like that.
Yeah, but like, is he really that good of a person though? Because like his daughter was like homeless and died. So like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
maybe he didn't have an extra room. Or maybe like he had a big
Yeah.
family and they all were taking up bed.
In
You
my
don't
mind,
know.
she kind of like disappeared and was no contact for years or something. I don't know, but
Well,
and
who
then he
was? I
found her
think it was
later.
like I mean, I don't think anyone like George McGovern's daughter, like one of those famous politicians that had run, like that was like wealthy, and like his daughter had like worked on his campaign. She disappeared and died in the snow, like in a similar way. And they were like a caring family and everything. It's just she disappeared, and you know she was an
Yeah.
alcoholic, and when she was using, I think like if I remember the story correctly, like she would just disappear because her family would disapprove and would try to put her in rehab, and then she ended up freezing in the snow, like in a very similar story,
yeah.
because you know she just disappeared one day. Like,
Yeah,
so
people
that
make
does
their own
happen.
choices.
Drinking.
if Joe Biden actually, treated, treated his son like that, Hunter would probably be dead right now. So
The
Here we
other
go.
cool thing that I didn't really think about until I watched your little clip there was the heist movie can keep evolving because crime keeps evolving.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Cybercrime was never even a remote possibility.
Yeah. They
When the
had never
killing
thought
was
about it.
made.
Right.
You know, even if you think about, well, it's always hilarious too if you watch like 90s movies, right? About what they think
when they're
cybercrime
hacking?
is.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
The
Where
net,
it's like, I
remember
mean,
that one?
oh god, the net is like the classic example. But even the movie Hackers is just like, wow, this is adorable by
silly.
comparison.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
I was watching The Italian Job last night, the original 1969 one, and they literally they break into the building, and there's like the big compute, like they have to hack the traffic light like monitor system. So they literally have to go up to the thing and like feed something into it. They don't even show what they do in the end because they like cut to black. But it's like that's a way different version of hacking than today's relatively easy. Like you could do it. It's a work from home job if you really want.
and like also,
even
like Blake Seven back in the 70s, they had a the science fiction show in the far future. The computer hacker just sat there and soldered everything, which is hilarious.
Exactly.
It's not computer hacking.
Yeah, literally, they had a hatchet. They were hacking in. No, but it's even like look at something as recent as like Inside Man, right? With the advent of like facial recognition technology, what makes that movie wonderful, like really brilliant, and honestly very watchable even now is like that wouldn't quite work the same way in 2023 because of facial recognition technology, and it's weird that why do we love like the crime movie? Right. Again, we're rooting for the people. Like we know you're doing a bad thing, but we also kind of want to see you get away with it, but maybe not, depending on how it goes.
Be gay, do crimes, but not in the George Santos way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Who could have?
Well,
predicted
the
that?
other one, the other kind of crime that has changed like so much in the decades is like identity theft, and you see a lot of like very elaborate plots in like early noir movies for identity theft, where it's like you have to
Barry
take
Lyndon.
Yeah, like you beat somebody up, you like take their passport, they wake up, they don't have anything on them, and now it's just like you call and you get them to say yes, and then you can get their voice to say yes. You somehow like get their social security number. That's a new form of like identity fraud. You can do it in like probably seconds, and that like movies would have to evolve for that. Like no one's stealing your passport anymore. I mean, maybe
The
somebody
IRS
is.
does not call people. Just remember that they do not call, but they're also trying to like get fake mail stuff now.
It makes me excited for like the next 20 or 30 years to see how heist movies evolve again, because you're really just looking for where's the biggest amount of money that someone would try to steal, and then how could you steal that? And you could see it changing, like with the Ocean's movies. It's like, oh yeah, casino, like they have the most cash of anybody.
I think you could see more sort of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin related crime movies.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going.
I think you would see a lot more if so many of the people that make movies hadn't fallen for it.
Oh, right.
Because they're like, it's not funny. I don't want to see that. And it's like, well,
I swear to God, put an
That's
NFT in your movie. Put an NFT in your movie. I am walking. I will not finance any of it.
Yeah, the guy from 47 Ronin, which I think you worked on.
Oh, I just read that story.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That
That's
is an
so
insane
crazy.
story. I read that
can't
as well.
believe it. It infuriates me to no end, too.
Yeah,
Like, how
did
could
you actually
blow that much money?
did you actually meet him whenever you worked on that movie?
No, I didn't. So yeah, I worked on 47 Ronin for like 3 weeks in London, and I worked in the theater. Nobody ever came by. I just did dailies over there. But man, I remember thinking at the time, even then, I was like, this movie is so crazy. They've wasted so much money. We're doing reshoots that equal almost half of the principal photography, and everyone's talking about this guy. Like, no one knows what they're doing, or they rewrote the whole third act, and nobody knows what it is. And through the grapevine, Keanu Reeves is like worried about this, and and then it comes out, and I remember sitting in theaters. It came out on Christmas morning, and the opening shot, I was like, "Oh no, this is not going to be good." I could tell so quickly.
It's like when you get reports of when people screen the Phantom Menace, and people are like, "Oh no,
yeah,
made a terrible mistake."
But it's so wild, like that guy's story. That's the only movie he's ever directed, and yet somehow he keeps getting truckloads of dollars, like lined up, like just lined up at
dump
his
trucks
door.
coming up to the house. And
Make
just
us
dumping
something
it.
else.
Yeah,
Who's trusting this guy? It's so wild.
Yeah. No.
Well, how much of the movie industry at that point is just like a money laundering operation?
That's
They're
the
like,
whole.
look,
That's my whole theory. I think a lot of
best
people
was-
talk about was We Bowl. Is that his name?
Oh sure, yeah.
The guy who does all those like video game adaptations. That's money laundering straight up, right?
Mm.
Even I think he's open about that.
Well,
like we actually make money losing money here.
Getting back to the Rona guy, I mean, he took another advance from Netflix of like $10 million and then immediately put it in cryptocurrency, and it's like, okay. Well,
Yeah, I remember reading that.
I don't even know how that's possible.
But then he
Does have
made
this accent to the bank account of.
But
this
then he
production?
made money on it. So everyone's like, well, I guess he made money. But it's like, no, that's like
It's
wild.
either
legal.
that or tax write-offs at this point.
And it's a huge risk. It could have been a coin flip the other way, and you would have lost it all immediately.
So speaking of not having dump trucks when they
Anyways,
pull up to your
sorry.
house, what I appreciated about this film, and I saw it sometime back, and I was really amazed by how much you did with so little. Which is to say that like you make what you have works really well. We mentioned the intro, a classic example, Reservoir Dogs, you don't actually ever see the heist, which I think is fantastic, right? But it doesn't make it any less important. No, in fact, it'd probably be lessened if you did see the heist.
Mm-hmm.
But how was this envisioned? Like, did the script come first? Like, where did this movie come from? Because we don't get to talk to directors too often, but I'm always curious about that.
Yeah. I don't know. Writing a script is sort of like sculpting, where you have like an idea of it, and then you keep chipping away like in all different places until you finally come up with what it is. Originally, I wrote this as a short when I was in college because I was just trying to think of something I could shoot in an empty apartment because that's what I had.
One room, yeah.
And I was like, what would be cool? What if someone had a whole bunch of phones? Okay, well, why would they need that? And then it kind of turned into, well, I like bank heist movies. What if she's like organizing a heist? Well, it was a guy at the time. What if he's organizing a heist? And he has to call all these people, and I could never get the short less than like 20 pages, which is too long for a short. Everyone will tell you that. But there's all these things that I wanted to set up, like I want to set up and pay off, and I wanted to be able to have double crossing that made sense, and you just need time to do that. So I could just never fit it in.
Yeah.
I did a short film for college, like, because we had to do we did a documentary and then a short film, and I like ended up writing both of them. And like being like the director, which everyone kind of collaborates on those things, but like ended up being like the director. And we had access to like a basement. So I wrote like a hostage scene where a guy is kept hostage over the course of like a weekend in a basement, because we had like a weekend to shoot and we had like access to a basement in town. And just like slowly becomes friends with like his hostage, takers, and all the stuff is going on around him. Like, so that was like, I was like, well, we have a chair, we do have rope, and we do have.
Dude,
we can
coming up with a location first, like, is inspiring to me. Anyways, I think that's how Chris McQuarrie, the Mission Impossible guy, does all his stuff too, right? He's just like, find me a cool place to shoot, and I'll write a story around that.
Right.
So
No,
I kind of like
that's real.
empathize with that a little bit. I think it's cool to find some place that looks amazing.
So
years and years back. Hold on, Andy. Years and years back, me and my friends. Really? Okay, me and my friends had a public access show that was public access show. That tells you how long ago it was, right? And we did it on like the editing machines that have like the dials. It was like old school, like it was like the last generation to do that. But we wrote, it was like a variety show. We wrote most of the skits, some of which were longer form, around the locations we had. My favorite of which was a Batman and Robin parody called Natman and Blobin, where we had a Bat Cave, but that's all we had, or the Nat Cave, excuse me. We regret the error. And the whole thing about it, because it was a comedy show, right? They never left the Nat Cave. They were just bickering like an old married couple at each other the entire time. And so, but that was the bit, because we had like, no, this looks convincing. We don't have anything else though. We have like the costumes and this. And so I always love when I see people like utilize situation, like you make what could be seen as a weakness as a strength. Because I'm thinking about like all the different kinds of heist movies, and you, for whatever reason, people have a hard time utilizing cell phones now. Like and when it's done, it's like it's immediately antiquated to be like, oh, the iPhone doesn't look like that anymore, or like whatever that there's no read receipt or something, and it's always going to be whatever the next thing is. But I didn't feel like any of that was here. And I think it was notable too, because like the idea of like, okay, she's a different person to each one of these people, which necessitates a different voice. But then she also has to be remembering that while she's at the mission control. I thought that was, I've never seen anything like that. I thought that was a fantastic cut.
Oh, cool. Well, that comes from just trying to figure out, okay, there's going to be a person sitting at a desk here for 90 minutes. What can I do to make this interesting? And I love accents. I love like watching people switch accents. You've certainly seen an actor like giving an interview in their native accent for the first time and realizing that they're not
like, oh crap, they're English, or Australian.
It's so crazy.
Something about Abraham Lincoln, mate, is that, and it's like, oh my god, all right.
Yeah, totally.
Like there's no way that she has another accent in the bag. Oh my god, now she's Australian.
It's so it's so cool to watch, and that's a testament to her and her talent of just doing that. That was part of the casting. Was I need to find somebody who could do accents. And
so you said the original script it was a guy, right? So
yeah. At some point, I was like, why can't this be a girl? There's like so many guy movies. There's no reason this can't be a girl. So I just flipped it, and I thought it worked better because I kind of like
a heist movie, but feminist.
More female criminals.
And it's not necessarily about her that she is a woman. She's just a person.
Yeah, I mean, Ocean's 8 exists.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's about the only one I can think of, though. I mean,
they made heist woke. But I watched it on Thanksgiving, and my grandma was here for Thanksgiving. Like we had like family over, and we were watching it, and I like she never says a good thing about anything that she's ever watched, right? Like I even like I remember we went to go see Baby
I like where
Driver.
this is going.
She's a real gem.
So we went to go see Baby Driver. She's like, that was terrible. It was too loud. But we watched Solid Rock Trust, and she's like, wow, that performance was like stellar. Like that was a stellar performance. So I was like, this is the first time I've ever heard this woman say something nice about something that was on TV.
Amazing.
It's not
tell your
like
grandma to
Big
tell her
Bang Theory.
friends, because that would be great.
Show them how to create letterbox accounts.
Yeah, all of a sudden your octogenarian numbers are off the chart.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
This is a demo I never expected.
Yeah, the numbers are in the toilet for 20-year-olds, but 80-year-olds. It's great.
That reminds me of like a Better Call Saul kind of scam, where he's like he's getting all the old people to like all make letterbox accounts and rate his rate his like short film or something.
I've rated two things. I've rated this bank heist movie, and I've rated 80 for Brady. That's
oh god.
We had Gabriel Horn on. He was trying to do something like that.
I've rated this bank heist movie, and I've rated every episode of Fox and Friends.
Can I tell you? And I don't normally interject this kind of thing, but I am literally in a hotel that's like a retirement community right now, and they have a theater, and it's a nice theater. And what the movies that they have picked are crazy. So first of all, we'll start first of all, 2001, which we missed by a day, which I'm like, oh, I would have loved to see 2001 in like on a big screen. That'd be awesome.
Oh, wow.
And then Matilda.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Then there was it was like a Don Knotts crime movie. I can't remember exactly what it was. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then The Lost City, aka the Sandra Bullock vehicle that was on like Netflix earlier this year. Like it just is the most. I'm like, who is programming this theater? And these old folks are there, and they're kind of wandering in that. One of them, there was just like some obscure ass Julie Andrews movie I've never seen. I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. But whose was like, you know what we need in here? The Lost City. I'm barely aware that exists.
That stuff. I would be doing the exact same thing, like from every.
But they threw in like 2001.
I do a bar.
Good movies, bad movies, kids movies. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, like it seems like it'd be a lot of blast to put together. But like, I guess the point of that story is that like it makes sense if you think about like they aren't just 80 for Brady too. That was the capper for that. That if that's going on tomorrow, we're gonna miss that one. But it makes sense. Like old folks don't want to necessarily just see old folks on the screen, right? And they've seen a lot of movies probably. So,
and 80 for Brady probably said the demo too. But no, like Matilda is actually a good idea because then you can get your grandkids.
Yeah, no,
that's Thanksgiving weekend. That's where you were going. Was a lot of family stuff.
Because we're not the only people visiting here, so it's like okay.
Not bringing the grandkids to the screening of Hellraiser in a week and a half.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They'll all be gone.
It's crazy. It was 80 for Brady back with Saw. It was wild. Yeah.
They have the kids leave, and then they turn on like a Clockwork Orange. They're like, "Oh, we watched 2001 last week." Like,
That's why I was like, I mean, I approve, but I'm like, wow. I feel like if you didn't know what 2001 it was, and you like walked into it, and you're like, in a retirement community, what would you think? That would be like, where's that Letterboxd review? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, waiting to see their Babylon Letterboxd review.
Oh my god,
no.
yeah.
That's not how I remember it.
I was at that party. It was nothing like that.
No elephants chat on a guy.
Right. There was way less clothes.
Well, but I think it's interesting because a newer concept can go two ways. People can be like, I don't get that. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to engage with it. Or it could be like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that. And obviously, if you're cinephiles, which of course we are, then of course we're going to be enthralled by it. Thanks for the assist, Kristina. Yeah,
watching your clip there at the beginning, I was like, oh man, these guys get me. They know exactly what this movie was. It's so great to find those people.
Yes,
but like it's kind of it's hard sometimes to get over a new idea if you don't have the phantasm, but in a nursing home. Great, fantastic. They made enough of those movies. You think they probably have one, and it can be hard to get over. But I feel like this is a simple concept because again, everyone knows what a heist movie is, right? Whether you like love the genre or don't. Like it's you know what it is. Imagine 12. Wait, imagine 12 men stuck in a room for an hour and a half, and they're angry.
12 angry men in a room.
They're angry men, and there's 12 of them.
They're angry because they've gotten called in for jury duty.
I don't want to go to jury duty. Do you want to go to jury duty?
Part of the inspiration I gave the cinematographer was from that movie. Actually, they started on a lot of wide lenses and longer shots. And I did the exact same thing. By the end, you're like all tight, real up close in their faces. It really builds the intensity without you even realizing it. If you could stretch it over,
not only that, what I loved about the cinematography is that digital cameras usually flattens the image a lot because there's like not the same focal point like the film cameras used to have. And like a lot of movies are I mean like you got to shoot on digital, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, you have to. I've been working in this industry for 15 years now, and I've never worked on a film program.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is like what you did with the constant motion created a certain sense of depth in the room that you don't normally get from there. So it didn't seem all flat. And there was it was really just a great use of how you use the camera too.
Thank you. A lot of that thanks to our DP Dakota. But would you believe me if I told you that abandoned building is 95% real the way that you're looking at it right there? That's so right. We were looking all over town, all over Atlanta to try to find a place that would let us come in and shoot. And we found that place and I walked in and I was like, oh, this is it. And everything that you see, all the props, all the set, it's like there already. And I knew from the beginning, like this is going to keep it visually interesting because we could shoot through these bookcases and around these tires and we can have her like walk over to this corner and it feels like a different scene, even though you're in the same room, but it looks like you're somewhere else,
I love that once the suspense builds to like the level that you're like, oh shit, like I really want to know what's happening. You get that little bit of a break where the couple comes in, the horny realtor, and who's showing like the drunk lady.
Hard relatable, by the way.
Yeah. So you get that you get that break just as you're like, oh shit, like she's been sitting there the entire time and like this is actually getting like really interesting. Like I'm actually feeling a lot of tension from just her phone calls, right? Like she's picking up the thing and now she's using one voice and you're like, it feels like this is culminating in something. And then all of a sudden you see like a couple just like wandering looking at the space and you're like, holy shit, will you leave? Like, and then of course you get the blood.
Perfect. Like, yeah. I wanted them to walk in at the worst possible time. Like, she has to be here right now and she can't be. How excruciating is that?
Oh my God, not already.
Get out of here.
And the thing I love too is like there's a bed right there, and he didn't even suggest using the bed. Which
you would not lay down on that thing. Get out of here. It was so gross.
Come back with 5 different STDs.
Even that bed was there when we moved in. It was up against the wall, but
I assume you put a sheet on it because that looked like a pretty white sheet on top. That scene where she lays down on it for a moment.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I brought in a sheet. We must have. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to.
I need to get a new mattress.
Now, how much of the movie changed by
that was your takeaway?
Yes.
Well, I mean, you do live close enough to Georgia. You could get the mattress from that abandoned warehouse.
I live
in that room.
I live on the border of Georgia. Yeah.
I've never wanted to have mattresses.com as a sponsor more. Oh, you need a new mattress, Kristina? Well.
we're getting a sleep number. In my town, it's either like a car wash or now we're getting like mattress stores popping everywhere, vape shops everywhere. I'm like, what's next?
Yeah, you want to talk about money laundering scheme? It's got to be that mattress store.
Oh yeah.
How many
you had a question coming in. I can't remember who.
Yes, yeah, it was me. I've been trying to get this one in. How much of the movie changed by casting Coco? Because she is phenomenal.
Actually, the script did not change that much. The accents changed. I had less accents on the page, and she came in, and because you can't expect to write 8 accents. Nobody can do that.
Right.
So I had like 3, and a bunch of them were doubled up. And she came in and was like, "Hey, I do a couple more. Could I change this one to this one, this one to this one?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do that, definitely." But then it changes like who she's playing in that moment, right? Because when she goes into an accent, she's like a different character. So I had to change like a couple things around to like right towards that. And then there's a sequence in the middle. Oh, this is a funny story. You probably remember where she's negotiating like both sides of a conversation,
right?
And we intercut it in a way because like we get it, like we get it, negotiations happening. And so she starts to negotiate with herself. Hopefully you understood that.
Yeah.
That was not written that way because originally it was like she's talking to this person, then to this person, then to this, and back and forth and back and forth. It was kind of long, and actually forgot that I needed to shoot that. It was not on the schedule. And one day I realized it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just lost like 5 pages, and I'm never going to squeeze this in." So that morning I rewrote that scene by hand on notebook paper to be what you saw. And I didn't even have a copy machine, so I rewrote it again while I was sitting next to her. So she had a version and I had a version, and we just like did it on the spot right there. And I love that scene now. I think it's like fun.
That's great.
Like, it's kind of a comedy beat for the whole thing.
Because it's the ultimate culmination of it being like switch this accident character, this accident character. Like, well, I'd be hilarious if he's doing both sides of this. All right, sure. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and the camera angle switched enough that it's like it feels really like you're like a negotiation is taking place between 2 people. And like you have to remind yourself, like this is a negotiation between one person negotiating with themselves, both as a fucking cop and as themselves on the on the phone.
Yeah. So those are probably the only ways that it changed, besides like cutting some lines out in the edit and stuff. But it was pretty close. Yeah, I would say.
Very cool.
Was it?
No, go.
Oh, I was gonna say. So, was it when Coco was casted that the character became female, or was it had it?
Oh no, it was before that. Yeah,
okay.
I probably on like version 2 or 3, I changed it to a woman and was looking for a woman through the casting process. Yeah, it's funny. I screened this one night at it wasn't a festival. It was like an indie screening night. They had like 5 or 6 shorts and then our movie, and it was like main character was a male, and then ours popped up. Oh, it was like a breath of fresh air to have something different. And I'm so glad that we went that route because man, there's just not enough out there.
I mean, so there's the aforementioned Ocean's 8. There's like Emily the Criminal, right? Birds of Prey could qualify, but there's not a ton of female-centric crime movies, which is strange. I mean, you go back to Double Indemnity, I guess, like if you're really digging, but like it does make it unique and interesting. And why not? Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's why I changed it because I said, why not? Like, there's no reason. As a guy, I'm like terrified to write female characters, right? Because I have no female perspective. But this seemed like a perfect fit because it doesn't
breasted boobily down the hall. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter like what gender they are, and so that makes it just a good character. You're just trying to write a good character,
right? Yeah. Well, it should. If it is a really good character, then it shouldn't matter who's the person playing it necessarily, too. It what type of person they are.
Yeah,
that's one school of writer anyway.
Well, I mean, it's also hard relatable. She's dealing with like a shitty relationship at the same time, and there's like interpersonal drama, and it just happens to be, of course, the guy that she has to trust to put the fucking thumb drive in. I mean, no metaphor there, but like it has to be that guy that she ended up, cheating on. That's having the machinations about like stabbing her in the back, fucking old school noir style, pretty much like. Halfway through the thing when he's had enough. So it's like that extra level of like personal tension, I think, because it's part of the robbery and because it's not like, oh, well, she has a family outside of this that you have to kind of introduce, I think works perfectly for this too.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yeah. It's always just trying to find like different types of relationships that she's going to have with all these people.
If you like women talking, you'll absolutely love women stealing.
Sounds like a good movie title.
How to do Uncle Alligator for that one? That was too good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that one was.
Yeah. So I think it's the theater of the mind is like a kind of a hard thing to write for, right? Because you don't want to over explain, you don't want to like spoon feed the audience. But then again, if you don't have any visuals to go off of, you have to like make it evocative. So putting that from like idea to execution, was there any like major challenges that you found as far as moving it along, like the acts and everything?
Yeah, let me tell you this. It's very easy to read this on the script because you forget that you're watching just one person. When you're reading it, you're doing what you do with a book and like imagining how this is all going to play out. And then if you're not careful, you forget that, well, we're not filming any of that. And a lot of people had like difficulty understanding that. Like, well, what are we shooting the other side of this? No, we're not shooting the other side of this. The original sound guy we had, which did not make the cut, we let him go early, but he like couldn't grasp that we're never leaving this room, like, but you're gonna go shoot the bank at some point. No, we're not doing that. You're gonna listen to it all, man. You're gonna listen to it. That's why your job is real important here. So I knew that there was another movie happening on the other side of the phone. And to try to keep it interesting, I wanted you to really care about those people. So I'm casting voices that sound unique, like different ages and like vocal tones and stuff. So when someone answers, you know exactly who you're talking to. And I wanted there to be a lot of sound design on the other side of the phone. So you've seen a bank heist movie. You know what's happening in the bank. You know that there's like guns and people are screaming and like shoving people into a closet or whatever's happening. And you could just hear all that and like kind of like with your eyes closed, figure out what's happening. And I wanted you to have that experience.
And this is like the era of like true crime podcasts, right? Like,
we've all sat there and listened to music playing and dramatizations.
I grew up on Forensic Files.
Yeah, people are very like primed for that level of visualization, I think, now, because it's like you can kind of just do whatever and listen to like a true crime podcast. Like, I don't know, like 10 years ago or something. I mean, when people are listening to the radio, but they're listening more to like talk radio, right? Like now I think people kind of have a rich visual imagination with that kind of stuff, because like, especially like like suburban ass kind of people are like so deeply into true crime. Like every time you look at podcast numbers, like somehow that's far and away like the most that most people are listening to.
But also that's also like a more recent trend. And what's one of the big complaints for people with podcasts a lot of times is I can't tell who's who. I don't know which voice, not on this show, of course, that's very clear, but
really?
Like, especially when it's a pack of dudes, it's like, which one, who's talking now? Who is this? So
who's the female?
Exactly. Who's the chick? Who let the broad in?
Yeah.
Why are they trying to make
podcasts broad on this show? And so, but I think that you hit on something important that I want to circle back on with that because I think if you don't have distinctive voices, you won't have distinctive characters. So it's like vital that the audience be able to immediately determine like who's who, and otherwise, maybe the less imaginative of the viewing audience is going to be like, well, I don't know what's going on, what's happening.
Yeah. Hopefully you cared about all those people and had an image, like your own image of who they were in your mind. And no spoilers, but if you were to see them later on in the movie,
I looked up the actors and actresses. I was like, and some of them like nailed it, and some of them like, nope, not even close.
Give up. I tried.
I've had this experience.
The kid, the kid that she's talking to, I was like, yeah, I don't even know what I was about. Like, that's not how I imagined that kid looking.
Yeah. I've had this experience where I listen to a lot of podcasts, and then I'll see video like much later, and I'll have an image in my mind of who these people are, and when I see it, I'm like, no, that's not what they look like.
Yeah.
But dude, yes, it is.
Yeah,
It's
but
your
it
fault.
is. Yeah.
So what does that say about you?
I've done my show for just about 10 years now, and I just started putting on video like during the COVID.
I bet people are like, that's not what I pictured at all.
I had a bunch of people that were like, I totally thought you were gonna look different. I'm like, well, I also like play in a band, and I'm not hard to find. If you look up Conan Neutron, what comes up. But I get it. That's because if you hear someone's voice and you're naturally going to want to create a visual to go along with it. And
right.
And universally, by the way, what they thought I looked like, way less good than what I actually look like. They thought I was like, a potbelly beardo. I'm like, thanks.
I always got compliments for my
that's
my
a question
voice
mark,
growing
not an
up.
exclamation point.
Right. What's that, Kristina?
I got a lot of compliments on my voice growing up because I have a very low, sultry voice apparently. So like when I was in choir, they were like, how low can you go with your voice? I'm like, I can do bass. I don't care. And they're like, okay, we got no dudes in here, so you're going to be alto 2 and bass if we need a wide arrangement that's very diverse. And I'm like, I got you.
Oh, way to go. See,
nice,
everyone's got their skill. The other element that having the people on the other end of the phone that you could play with is her hands are really tied. Like she's trusting these people to do everything.
Has to.
Her eyes and ears. And you could play with a lot. Like, okay, something's really going wrong. And what can she do? Yeah. What can she do? Except sit and listen to it all fall apart. And I really wanted you to feel that. Right.
Well, and there are like kind of subtle, like mind games is the wrong word, but there's subtle like linguistic tricks you can do to sort of move someone along, maybe to like where you want them to be. But then like if someone busts you on doing that, then it's like, oh, well,
yeah,
okay, my bad, y'all.
Her power is that she can. Maybe she's a hacker. She could hack anything, but her real power to me is like her power of, like convincing people, right, to persuade them. And then when she doesn't have that, she gets backed into a corner a number of times. So
and it seems like logistics and contingencies too, like the ability to like problem solve from afar seems to be like a skill set there. And it's like, but the second you lose control, you really lose control. And like anybody that's ever like tried to handle anything logistically and like set it up so you're like, all right, this is gonna go this way. Like it never does. Like once you're doing whatever it is, right? Like something goes.
Look at this show.
No, but like something like, I mean, it's kind of like being on a film set. Like you can have every single piece of equipment ready, but something's gonna go wrong that you had no possible way of foreseeing. Like
well, probably more so on a smaller production, right? Because if you've worked on a lot of much bigger productions that are not your baby, and it's like you have there's a department for everything. There's a division of labor that like borders on the absurd, whereas you don't necessarily have that on a smaller production.
The Department of giving water to bitchy celebs.
Ironically, it seems like no matter what level, it's always going wrong all the time. There's just more money on the line.
Right.
But, yeah. People say, write what you know. Like when you're looking for inspiration, like you're supposed to write what you know. That's what I always hear. And I've never stolen money from a bank before. I'm not planning to, so I didn't.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Exactly. Yeah.
But in some ways, I really did write what I know because it's like I don't trust anybody to do any of this. I want to do it all by myself, and that is the part of me that's definitely in the script. And it's hard, because when things start falling apart, like what are you going to do to hold it all together? And who can you trust? Who can you trust to bring along on this ride?
She's a control enthusiast. See, she's enthusiastic about it. She isn't freakish. It's a control enthusiast.
Well, going back, I like that. As far as like Kubrick's like The Killing, like in the heist genre, right? Like there's always like a delegation that has to happen, and like a lot of these movies, like when they're the most interesting is when there's a central plot, and then there's like other plots that have to be going on that people aren't allowed to find out the full amount of information. And of course, as things spiral, people are like pressing in to find out the full amount of information, but it adds a whole other layer when the person who has all the information is not there. Like they are not at the scene of whatever's happening. They're remote somewhere else. And, and it's still like that thing is pressing in on them to like reveal the rest of the plan. And it's like, I feel like there's a whole other dimension to it because it's like, in some ways, like, is the person going to fold? It's so much easier in some ways to fold when someone's right in front of you pointing a gun at you or whatever. But like, there's a whole nother like set of issues that has to happen for that to be the case at the bank, and then you're at a warehouse, and you could at any point, like if you were that kind of person, just break the burner phones, cut and run if you really wanted to, right?
Get out.
Yeah.
She's the one person who's safe. And they even bring that up at some point. Like, dude, you're not in any danger here. We're the ones with our necks on the line.
Of course, the cop instantly is like, I know who you are. You're Maddie, and here's your social security. Here's your name, social security number, and like, I don't know your location though somehow, but I know everything else. Like,
right. Well, he got an anonymous tip. That's why we don't know.
Yeah, the boyfriend ratted her out. Still, see, classic. There's plots on top of plots. There's always like somebody double crossing. You're like, I did not see this coming, but you should have been able to see the whole time. But then, over the phone, right? You can't really tell any of that either, because it's like you're only seeing Maddie the entire time. It's like when she finally gets double crossed, it's like you can tell who's sneaky and who's planning on doing what. But like there's a level of like you're left with her level of like inability to do anything when things go wrong, or inability to even know what's going wrong when things go wrong, and you just start hearing like gunshots. And like that's the suspense builds from that, because you're like, all right, she doesn't know what the fuck's going on, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. We're all kind of just in the same boat.
Yeah. It's not like I'm leaving. It's not like you're being left out and you're confused because the filmmaking isn't right. I've been in those situations. You're like, what is going on? I feel like I should know what's happening right now, but I don't.
Did the director just invest $10 million in crypto? Is that?
But as long as you're in the same seat as her, it makes sense. Right, because you're experiencing it with her. Yeah.
Well, and
she also sends them in with blanks, which like is a whole nother set of fucking problems. Because when the guy finally, like, the kid freaks out and shoots a cop with a blank, like you have to be like, well, now they're gonna know. But then there's like when like introducing an actual gun into the situation is like, I'm glad someone brought that, to be honest.
Well, that's the other side of trust, of the Solid Rock trust, right? The lack of trust in this case, if something goes south.
And
that be a showstopper, but okay.
Well, and I like the idea that like since it's a 2-person operation, they're both bringing people into this, so like that trust is strained even farther, because it's like, well, you brought this person in, but I brought this person in.
Yeah.
It's like, where the fuck did you even find these people? Like,
that's what it was all about to me, was like, who do you trust, different levels of trust, and like a different amount of trust for each person, and then how they all, for her, crumble. And
the answer for her should have been no one. The answer for her apparently was like everyone, but the answer should have been no one.
Yeah. Well, for her, I think that's like her big issue. Like that's her fatal flaw, is that she doesn't trust anybody, but she's now in this situation where she's being forced to. She has to.
Yeah.
And is she going to learn from that? Is she going to learn to trust someone else besides herself, or not?
She doesn't trust anyone, but she instantly folds. And apparently that's not the first job where she's instantly folded and be like, all right, so here's the real plan. And it's like, no, don't do that.
It always happens. They always find out, man.
Exactly.
They're like, what's the real plan? I can't tell you. What's the real plan? Okay, here it is.
I guess I have to
you
tell
got
you.
me. That was
it goes way back.
Twice. That's the rule.
First, go to accent school and learn a bunch of different accents.
And I'm glad none of them were offensive too, because like it could be like you get banned from India for life, like the guy from Short Circuit did.
Oh my gosh,
Stevens.
Yeah.
Is this like their jerky boys knock over a bank? What do you think?
It's one thing to do. It's one thing to do an accent and pretend to be somebody else for a purpose. It's another thing to pretend to be a different race. Straight up play that different character and hope nobody notices.
Yeah.
Fisher Stevens.
And Fisher Stevens is banned from life from going to India.
Is he really? Well,
yes. Hey,
there's enough European accents, though. You probably have to cycle through like 14 countries at least before you get to the point where you're like, okay, I got to bring in some offensive accents into this. I'm out of European countries. I'm out of North American countries. I guess I'm going to Asia.
Of England.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, it's like the UK office.
I brought too many people into this plan. Now I'm just doing racist accents, and I've lost control of everything.
And one of my favorite moments, like watching like a lot of UK actors do better job at doing American accents than American actors doing different accents.
Yes.
And I remember watching
It's
Legion.
unfair.
Yeah, and I remember watching Legion where Dan Stevens, a British dude, is, playing, an American, but he's trying to imitate Patrick Stewart's Professor X, and it's like he's faking a British accent even though he is British himself, but he's Americanizing the British accent. And I'm like,
It's like the inception of accents, because it's like a
Yeah.
British guy being an American imitating a British
and
guy.
his other Dave was like, "Is that a British accent? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, this is so funny."
Oh, it's like the Tropic Thunder thing. It's like I'm a dude playing another dude, whatever, like stuck
somebody
in
else.
another dude. Like
So true.
By the way, this is
Yeah.
Frankie.
Hey,
He
Frankie.
says hello.
Frankie's
he
looking for
likes
a close up.
He likes to be on camera. It's annoying.
Give Frankie a close up.
Look, kid, the cat stays in the picture. That's all I'm saying.
I was at the grocery store the other day, and they had like an Uncle Alligator, but it was like a bunch of money for like an alligator like dog plush, and I was like, Audrey's just gonna rip this up in seconds.
It'll be a great act on stream for maybe 10 minutes and then over. Yeah.
Maybe not even that. Like maybe she'll get
10
to it
minutes
before I
might be
get on
generous.
stage.
You're right. Yeah. Thinking about it. So what are you? What was the biggest challenges with putting this together?
Oh man, the biggest. There's no biggest. They're just all huge.
Everything's a challenge, just like this show.
Like pre-production is like a million little things that you have to do every day to try to get it ready and foresee, so you don't have problems when it's late. And you can never avoid that. Like one day, my male actor came on day 2 and was like, "Shoot, I didn't shave. Do you have a razor?" I don't have a razor. So now I got to figure out how to get a razor here in the next 15 minutes.
DoorDash it.
Stuff like that. Man, shooting, is hard. It's long days, and you're just trying to shoot as many pages as you can in a single day and keep up with it all. We fought with the weather a lot because we were in that building, and anytime it rained, you could really hear it.
Yeah.
And we're in Georgia, thunderstorm season, so we were like shutting down for an hour or two at a time when the clouds roll in. It's so dark in there, and it's just
Tell
like
me about
a
it.
hurricane outside.
But you got that next light coming through the that kind of like covered up window.
Yeah, the roll up doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible, and that was our source light for a lot of it until the clouds roll in, and then you lose it.
Then it's completely different, and you don't have any shot consistency.
And then, and then it'd be like, continuity errors on IMDb. The lighting in this scene is so different from the lighting in that scene.
I'm surprised at how consistent it was through the whole thing, because we shot in 10 days, and he just did a really great job. Even when we were shooting at night, you couldn't even tell because he was matching it with other lights that were set up.
Oh, wow.
That was tough. And then, gosh, all the computer screens I made myself from scratch, pretty much every single one. And there's 40 or 50 of those, and all different styles, like DOS or Macs or Windows or hacking screens. I did all that. That took me a long time to do.
All right, I have a question.
Marketing's been tough. That might have been the hardest thing. That's something I never understood before, and now I have a respect for those people. But
I've been told that I'm good with marketing, even though I didn't do so well with it as a class in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because
that's not how you should pitch that. You should leave the high school part of it out.
Leave the second half of that.
I didn't like the teacher. But here's the thing. I know Wonka's coming out, and Timothée Chalamet's got a couple of movies coming out next year, and I'm like, why not push them on to May and call it Chalamet?
Now that is a PR move. Way to go.
Yeah. It's a December to remember. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, apparently Nosferatu is coming out the same day as Jordan Peele's new movie. And I'm like, it's Barbenheimer, but spooky.
Well, and wasn't Wonka supposed to come out at the same time as Dune before they moved Dune? What were they?
Wow.
What was their plan?
Yeah,
for that?
something like that.
Inside you are 2 Timothees.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So I have a question. With the challenges. How challenging was it to shoot? Like, all right, so after going through, I don't know what order you shot everything in, but after going through everything where it's kind of not easy, but it's kind of contained, and then you kind of have the action of her boyfriend coming in, like, kind of limping or whatever with the fucking blood on him a little bit, and he's like, he's holding her up and everything, and that whole scene. were there challenges putting that part of it together? Like, or did it feel different shooting that, like the kind of finale of it rather than
Gotcha. So like I said, we shot 10 days, I think. One day was completely inserts, like it was all just her hand moving stuff around the map and pushing buttons and like typing and mouse, all that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like
one day was that couple who came in, and then 2 days were the boyfriend. And I tried to shoot it all like as in order as I could, except we could only get certain people on certain days. So like the boyfriend stuff was right in the middle. It was like I don't know what it was, 3 and day 6 or something like that. And man, it was a lot easier, I know, especially for Coco, having other actors there.
Right.
Yeah.
But you do kind of get into a rhythm of shooting whole sequences where it's just her at the desk. Like, we're going to do it from these 2 angles. We always shot with 2 cameras. And then we're going to start it over and do from these 2 angles, then start it over and do from these 2. And then we try to get 6, for each scene. So I have something to cut to. You do get to a rhythm there. But man, I got to believe it's harder to shoot a single location thing than a regular movie, because it would just be nice to go into an area and shoot a scene.
Yeah, you don't have anything
one
for
day,
coverage.
and then you're done. Like, you don't have to worry about if the map is torn up the right way.
Yeah,
yeah.
That we had it like 4 days ago. And
it kind of reminds me of the film
blood
Hard
in the right
Candy.
place.
Yeah.
Reminds you of what?
The movie Hard Candy with Elliot Page and Patrick Wilson. Like, they shot that in like about 18 days, and they had to really make sure that a lot of things, like they filmed in like a cafe and then like a house. Like, it was like they built it like it was like studio sets or something like that, and they really had to make sure that they had to get everything right, like even the lighting and the changing of like the cinematography would change depending on the mood of the scene. I guess
recreating that stuff can be a bear. I mean,
yes, especially when you're shooting completely. I mean, you could get away with filming some stuff in order, but a lot of people are like, yeah, we shoot a lot of stuff out of order, and we got to make sure that we remember.
You always do.
We
You just
place
have
things.
to. You just can't get actors at the right times, or weather like we had, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How did you do? Like, I'm guessing you ADR the all of the phone calls, right? Like,
can I say I still wanted to make an automated hand replacement joke, but I was like, is that too niche? Because ADR, automated dialogue replacement. We had Kira Rossler from Black Flag on the show, who was the head of ADR for Mad Max Fury Road, other things as well. And she actually was like super cool about explaining the ADR and all that. But I'm like, I can't make an ADR joke. Come on, up an automated hand replacement because you spent the whole day doing hands. Anyway, whatever. That was the joke. That would have been the joke. So you got an explanation of the joke instead. But
perfect explanation. Thank you. We didn't do that much ADR. ADR is when you're recording dialogue to like match what's on screen after the fact. It had like 5 or 6 lines out of the whole movie. You're talking about the phone calls, though.
Yeah, the phone call. Like, did you read? Was it you or somebody on set reading the lines, and then she would do them, and then you'd cut that out? Or
so I tried to figure out like, how are we going to do this? Because I don't really need all these people here all day, right? Because I don't know. They're really not in it that much. Like, a particular character on the phone, if you put all their scenes together, it's like maybe 10 or 15 pages at the most, which is not that much. But I did want her to act against somebody, because when you have somebody just off screen reading dialogue, it's like,
then it sounds like you're responding to somebody reading. Like, it's no flow to it. There's no natural part.
It's like you're reading a play in class and you're waiting your turn.
Right.
So the solution I came up with was we did Zoom calls like this with all the actors ahead of time. And I recorded all that stuff. So I sent microphones from Amazon to everyone's houses, and I got on with one actor and Coco, and we did all their scenes on one day. And I got on with another actor, and we did all their scenes for another day. And in that way, we kind of got to see the progression of those characters, like in real time almost. And then I had basically all the phone conversations done, and then I edited them all together, and I cut out the timing, so I got the timing right. And then I sent her the WAV file of the conversation as it would play in the movie.
Right.
So she was listening to it on her phone, like while she's on the plane or like rehearsing or at nighttime the day before. And we would just push play on that thing over a speaker that day. And she had it all memorized. Like, she could go 15 pages at a time because she'd been practicing everything. Like, hang up the phone, another phone rings, it'll like ring for her to give her a little cue, like pick it up. And then she starts the next conversation. And so that's how we did a lot of that stuff without any cuts. If you notice in the movie, it feels like she's just picking up the next phone, because it really is just a playback happening, and she's practiced all the accents and timing.
Oh, that's
It
awesome.
worked so good. It did suck. I'll tell you later because I had to go cut out all that audio and put in the original one.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I'm like constantly fading down, fading up, fading down, fading up.
Yeah, right in the fader.
There's something also so stressful and like kind of almost like annoying about the sound of the burner phone, right? Like when you're already in a high stress situation, like the and
Yeah,
I'd like
the
to you guys
vibrating.
had all of the burn, like whenever something like popped off at the bank, you had all the burner phones going at once.
Yeah,
and like in my head, like my first thing is like, I would be so fucking annoyed by the sound of all those burner phones
Over
going at
and
the same
over
time.
and over again. I
Yeah,
know.
and it's like, because it's like these are the people that you're using as a like a divergence or whatever, right? Like, or a distraction, right? Like this is a plot that doesn't actually have anything to do with the actual heist and like the money you're getting. That plot is just like a side plot. It's like the first fucking 10 minutes of Suicide Squad or whatever, when they send the other team out there to just distract the other side of the island. So it's like she's dealing with that, but then she still has to talk to the people on the phone to like talk them down and stuff. There's never a moment really where like it's crucial to talk to. Yeah. I don't know.
That was a list. So I had a list in my head when I was writing it, like all the things I want to happen. Like at one point I want to have all the phones ringing. Yeah. At one point I want to have her calling everybody and they all go to voicemail at the same time. And at one point I want her calling everyone and like one at a time and nobody answers. So yeah, it was fun to like play with all the different scenarios that we might have.
Yeah, like how do you make a cell phone interaction dramatic?
Yeah, you can't. You
It's
can't.
hard.
Gotta have some sound effects, like doink doink.
Yeah, and one thing I did actually appreciate is that like the first like the beginning of the film, like that you can, it sounds like it's muffled a bit, it's coming out of a cell phone speaker, but like as you get drawn into it, like whenever Rodin's like supposedly getting killed,
you caught that.
Like that is crystal clear. Like there is no distortion in that because which really draws you. I didn't notice it the first time. I noticed it my second watch through for today. So,
oh damn! You watched it twice. Way to go!
Yeah,
thanks. I know Forrest watched it like 5 times because he's like tapping into over there to like real subtle stuff. But
I watched it once, and then for doing that, like doing the intro, I went through like a skip
couple
through
times
of, like different parts of like
I told the sound guy, like for this one, because it's like a long slow push in, I want to start with it like we always have heard through the phone, and then by the end I wanted to sound like he's right there in the room with her, because when you're on the phone you don't notice that sound anymore, like it fades away, but in the story I wanted her to feel like she was right next to him. I wanted him to feel like he was in the room even though he's not. So yeah, thanks for picking up on that, man. Way to go.
Yeah, the deaf guy get it.
I think they're screening at the senior center theater. I think on Friday. So,
nice.
I feel like it's very hard to make a phone conversation dramatic. It's very easy to make someone hanging up a phone very dramatic.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like,
the best.
That is the most like that cutoff of communication when you really need it. It's very easy to make that.
That
like,
was a really
dramatic.
nice thing about the old style rotary phones that we had. You could just
bang
slam it down. Yeah.
That's why I went with the flip phones. Anyway,
doesn't have
push
the
the
same
button.
thing.
At least you could like flip it closed.
Yeah,
like, get me pictures of Spider-Man.
Tommy got whacked.
Slam the phone down on the.
Yeah,
We've all been there. It feels so good to hang up on somebody when you're pissed off.
Oh yeah.
Just throw my phone across the wall and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's why I got an
Does not
OtterBox
feel-
case.
does not
Well,
feel
that
that
isn't
great
why I
to-
have it, but yeah,
Does not feel great to be on the other end of that where someone hangs up on you.
No.
Did she just? Man.
Yeah.
How dare they?
I also love the fact that like it gave me flashbacks to The Wire. Remember that like there was a big plot point towards the end of the show where they went to get all the burner phones.
Yeah.
And I actually lived in Baltimore for a while, worked at Radio Shack, and sold a bunch of burner phones to drug dealers. So
Oh no way.
I remember like watching like after I stopped working for Radio Shack, like watching The Wire, going like, oh, "That's me." I'm selling
so we
them
have
that.
So we have a chat question. Can you talk about the 2-minute time limit countdown and what was the inspiration? It gets the attention of the calls that Conan mentioned and has a great payoff at the end.
Yeah, totally. Great question. I put the 2 minutes in there as like an exercise. Okay, none of these scenes are going to be longer than 2 minutes because I want this to move quick. I never want you to get bored with a conversation. So what's better than having a ticking clock? And, we can make that visual.
Yeah.
I need something for her to do. So like every 2 minutes, she's just got to reset it. So two things. Yeah. In one way, it just made it more interesting, I think, so that we never got bored with something that was happening. And another thing that it made was add tension when she needed to talk for more than 2 minutes, but couldn't, right? Sometimes she had to hang up like before she was done talking. So it was fun to play with that a little bit,
right? That's like
because you need a reason. Okay, well, why? But in the story, why can't she talk for 2 minutes? So maybe they can. I don't know if this is true. Maybe they can triangulate her phone 2 minutes, and then it plays later. Like she uses that to her advantage at some point. So
that is a real thing. I don't know if it's 2 minutes specifically, but that actually is a real thing, and it depends. Honestly, it depends on if you're getting your phones from Radio Shack. Thanks. That's what I was gonna
say. There's a thing where it's like you could listen for a certain amount of time. Like I feel like this is from a movie too, but like you could listen to the calls for a certain amount of time, and then like the FBI or whatever has to turn it off, and then they can turn it on again and listen for another.
That's
I don't believe any of them would follow that rule.
Well, yeah, and those are rules for wiretap, which only hold true for landlines. Believe it or not, they've never updated the Telecommunications Act to include any of that. And when they did it basically was like, well, there's a hole you can drive a truck through on here for the actual rules anyway. But it's basically you can do whatever you want as long as you get the FISA warrant or whatever to pull it up. But
it's definitely there was much on the Patriot Act. Way to go, man! How do you know that?
Look, I could tell you I'd have to kill you. No, but it is funny because that it actually was a real thing for a while that they could only listen. Then they had to turn the tape off for a certain amount of time. But that was all specifically when like all landlines, and when that was the only method of telecommunication that was included in there.
Gotcha. I definitely got that from the conversation. I was trying to think what movie do we watch. Yeah, that's where that was from.
Absolutely. No, it's which is. Then again, hopefully they never ever try to remake it, but it's very much of its time, right?
I don't know. The Cedo sequel was fun.
Enemy of the State.
Yeah,
it was not on the same level of importance personally.
No,
I think.
No.
but I think that it's interesting when you have the elements of like the law enforcement, right? That like, okay, how do you make this threatening when she's not in the same room? And obviously the big thing is it needs to make sure that her lair is not, I'm just going to call it a lair. It's a lair now. It gets exposed.
Her back cave.
But you don't have that cutaway of like, the detective. Oh, what's, like perfect example is, like I think it's Silence of the Lambs, right? Where you get that big scene where they got him, they're closing on Buffalo Bill, they're gonna get him, and then they're
at the wrong place.
And it's like they're at the wrong place, and Clarice is at the right place, but doesn't realize that's Buffalo, and it's like, oh, whoa, like that's a crazy way to show that.
He's like, oh, hey. Come on
Was she a great big fat person? Yeah, exactly. But you don't even get the side of having the pursuer to have any of that element for dramatic tension. So to draw it out, it really comes down to like the voice performance and the interaction. And I felt that there was like real kind of like tension because there was that big cop energy like back and forth of just kind of like trying to dominate the perp, I'm sure they would call it. And then it became like more cajoling, and then it was sort of
you definitely have different tactics to try to get at her. Yeah.
And you got to run through like I guess the cop toolkit of
you got to be friends with them. You got to be nice. Like, we don't care if you get away with it. We just want everyone safe, yada, yada. But then the pressure's on soon, right? He's not the only one involved here. Like, we got to get this taken care of. And then, of course, it's got to get personal. It always gets personal.
Yeah, well, like it's like Dog Day Afternoon, right? Like the negotiator part of that movie, where the one guy in fucking Dog Day Afternoon that also tried to eat Kermit's legs in the Muppet movie. That
I did never make that connection. Thank you.
Canonically the same guy. Yeah.
That cop is completely unsuited for that role in Dog Day Afternoon.
That's why he's going after Kermit's legs, dude.
Yeah.
He did a mid-career life change. Yeah.
Well, I only made that connection because we had watched. Well, I mean, it was like a year before we had watched.
I know.
No, but it's just kind of funny. I was like, oh my, because I was like, where do I know that guy from?
He's a that guy. He's a that guy actor. It's that guy.
Oh my god, he wanted to eat Kermit's legs. Like,
is that before or after? We got to figure this out.
Get like
but
a
yeah,
timeline.
Like that kind of thing, right? Where that's a certain skill set, and like more and more, I think in like hostage movies or like heist movies or whatever that whole genre, right? Like that skill set has gotten more and more refined in the age of like the Patriot Act and stuff, and like now that kind of, I mean, now it's kind of just a shoot to kill kind of situation where it's like I don't think cops really talk people down even the same way anymore, but like they do have like an FBI hostage team where they're like, yeah, so what do you want? Like, can I just can I see a show of faith? Can I get one hostage out of there? Like, can I see some people and let's negotiate? Like that is its own skill set, I feel like.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't even know if that happens, but it happens in bank heist movies, so
yeah,
it's definitely here.
They do actually have a simulator, like it's
okay.
It's like I swear it's like a video game. I've seen it.
It's all AI nowadays.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but it's like it's basically almost like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, you wear one of those that's like on Forrest's screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the real life camera. Yeah, exactly. And I'm surprised that's never shown up in any of these. Like, isn't there Samuel L. Jackson movie just called The Negotiator?
The Negotiator, right? Yeah, which honestly not that great.
I don't remember him doing that much negotiating in that movie either.
Well, the whole trick was that he's like
the equalizer. What's you equalizing? Anyway,
he's the cop that normally does the negotiation, but all of a sudden, like he's framed for a crime he didn't commit. So they bring in Kevin Spacey, and the whole thing, yeah,
that aged well.
So the whole thing is just like I know your rule book, and he's like trying to keep the negotiator and the police off because he knows what they're going to be doing. Even though he's taking hostages, and it's not a great film, but it's fun. It's got a great Green River score, so like that kind of makes up for what the script's missing.
We need someone unimpeachable. Give me Kevin Spacey.
That one doesn't hold up so well.
Didn't age well. What are the logistic concerns of like having so many damn cell phones? Like were they like going dead at the wrong time or anything? Or like do you have like a charging station that was like 90 deep or something? Like what?
Thankfully those little flip phones last a long time because they're not using the battery life like your iPhone is. But man, they're all working for real. Like I went to Walmart and bought however many phones and bought a 1 month plan for each of them so we can just call them as needed. And I would charge them all at night and we would run them during the day and that was it.
Did the police contact you for buying all those phones?
What's funny is I couldn't even buy them all.
See, those phones were working out for you.
I could only buy like 2 at a time, so I was driving to all these different Walmarts to find the same phone. I wanted them to all be the same. Because
that was in The Wire too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the places that they went to go buy the phones at was like right down the street from my art studio that I had at the time. So
they have the whole thing where they have to go out of town or whatever to get them. So the guy ends up buying them all in the same place, and that's how they track them because his girlfriend just bitching at him and it's like, why are you going all those why are you going all those places or whatever? And he's
that's right.
God damn it. Yeah, that's how they ended up getting them because they're like, look, we can sell you all these at a deal, and he gets to keep the money that way.
But then they can figure out where they were.
They can track it.
Yeah. He buys them from the cop.
Clever.
Like from the cop. Yeah.
That's funny.
What else? A lot of charging cables there, I would imagine.
We definitely had charging stations going.
Was there somebody on set just for charging?
I wish we had somebody who could take care. I was the props and the set person.
Yeah,
we had people doing other things, but we had like 15 people a day probably. But the phones were
that's the next step up. The next step up is you have like a prop person. That's like the
I know, and a script supervisor. It would be amazing.
I mean, when you did 2 solid 2 rock, you could have an actual charge person on set.
That's when you can get The Rock involved as well. It's in his contract.
Oh, The Rock and Solid Rock Trust. Yeah.
There we go. Just writes itself, doesn't it?
I'm really pretty sure people like that have like $1 million walk-on fee. So
I mean, yeah. Have you
you
seen
guys
some
need
of
to
the
hook
movies
me?
that
You
guy's
guys
in?
need to hook me up with some some angel investors before I can afford something like that.
You just got to figure out whether he's like more.
Why have you got the wrong
John.
podcast?
You find out whether he's more expensive or John Cena. That's how you have to do it. It'd be like you have to juggle those two and be like, oh, one of these guys has to star the sequel to this as he's a NSA guy or something that's listened to the entirety of those phone calls and realizes that she got away, and then he's like he has to track her down.
Forrest, you should be writing for Fast and Furious.
I see you get Dave. I think you get Dave Bautista and have him go real gentle, like he did in the Shyamalan movie that came out.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Knock at the Cabin,
which was the Blade Runner one where he was all quiet.
Oh, yeah. It's fine. That's a mixed bag for me. But it's interesting when you think about this genre of film, like the high genre, the crime genre, etc. Like, were there any tropes that you were like, okay, we got to not do this. We can't include this piece of it.
Dude, no. There's no trope that you cannot include. The only thing you can do to make sure it's not boring is you got to take a trope and you got to do something new with it. As long as it's not just like, oh, we've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that, but we haven't seen it like this. Then it's
not like this. You haven't. Yeah.
I'm putting together a team remotely. There you go. These are all work from home criminals. Like
that's actually how this show got put together.
Yeah, exactly.
Work from home criminals.
That's it. I feel personally attacked. Yeah.
I can't get these criminals to come back to the office. I don't.
Nobody wants crime anymore.
Nobody wants to steal anymore. Yeah.
There it is.
I mean, I do, but if you see someone stealing, no, you didn't.
Exactly. Was the editing process for this?
I don't think that works for bank heists. I don't think most people, if you see somebody stealing, no, you didn't. I think that works in like stores, but I don't know if it works in bank heists.
Have you ever tried?
You have a gun pointed at everyone. You're like, if you see someone stealing, no, you didn't. And they're like, yeah. Whatever you say,
bud. Yeah, fine. What was the editing process like for this, Rick?
I've cut 4, 5, 6 something features, indie features, and a ton of shorts. It was the same. The only difference was usually I'm cursing the director because I'm like, dude, what do you expect me to get from this scene to this scene? Like, you have no transition. How am I ever going to do this? How could you miss that? Or what are you doing with this camera angle? That makes no sense. That kind of stuff.
And then you're like,
and this one I was doing it still the same myself. Yeah, I sat down like first edit I tried to make. In fact, you even had it in your little clip there, Forrest. I'm not going to tell you which one it was, but I was like, went down to, okay, I got to get it from over here to, oh no, I just transported her across the room. How am I supposed to get her?
Yeah, you gotta get
what was that director thinking? It's so easy to sit at the computer and like, it seems very obvious what should have been done, but man, on the day, it's just millions and millions of decisions, and it's hard to keep up with it all. But
I mean, it's sleep deprivation too, right? At some point, like, you're just like, man, if I was shooting this like in my right state of mind, if we weren't shooting like all these days in a row, like I would have.
Yeah. Well, that's why you do so much work in preparation to try to like foresee all that stuff, and
they never do.
Okay, fix it in pre, not fix it in post.
Try to make as many of the decisions ahead of time, so you have less decisions to make, in the moment.
Absolutely.
But yeah, editing was like, I don't know, it was like normal. I just get through it one day at a time.
I appreciated that it's just north of 90. Like that's perfect like length for this. Like,
yeah,
I feel like the new default is everything's 2 hours, and it's like, no, it really shouldn't be.
I think the script was like 102 pages or something, and I knew it would be faster because so much of it is just like fast dialogue.
The Fast and Furious.
Sorkin's scripts are always like twice as long, right? Because his dialogue is so snappy.
Oh God, yeah. Sorkin's a
but I expected it to be a little shorter than the script, but yeah, we were like right there. I wanted you to get in and out. It's like a real time movie, right?
Yeah.
So
well,
I want you to feel like you've made a whole journey, like you've come a long ways, even though you've basically watched this person for 90 minutes straight.
without being the same thing, it reminded me of stuff like what's it, Time Code, I think, in the 2000s, and 24 before it just got just even more ridiculous than it already was to begin with, which was pretty ridiculous. But the idea of like there's just feels like, okay, like the time's running
You're
out
here for
no matter
every
what's
minute.
happening.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it makes you really think about it. And
there's
it's
always
just-
3 things happening, and you can only focus on one of them, even though they're all the priority. Yeah,
absolutely. So
Well,
normally
you guys are running out of questions.
Well, normally we have a bit that we throw to, but we are not doing that tonight. So we're gonna. I don't know what we're gonna do here. I have no idea.
We're gonna chill.
I'm
We're gonna.
in a
vibe.
retirement community. Sorry.
Here's the shit.
I'm running this off my phone, even though I pay for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we have a bit that like segues us, but we didn't get around to it tonight.
Yeah, well, I think what we're gonna do is
spent so much time putting a whole film class together to intro this show.
I know, right? He burned it all in the intro.
You should be getting paid to do that kind of stuff, man. Jeez.
Right?
You should run one of those master classes.
I think people come
How
on
to
that are
make
in film
podcast intros.
and in podcasts and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, that's real impressive," and it's like, hire this man.
Yeah, I always go so much harder when it's someone that's like working in the industry rather than like, you know what I mean? Like, because we have Matthew Film Guy come on a lot, and he which now that he's been on a lot, like I do it less, I go less hard. But like he edited Black Bear, and like he has like a bunch of films that he's been doing, and I'm like, I gotta do something cool enough that it's like, you know, Matthew Film Guy's here. Like I gotta do something that's like he'll pick apart my edit if I don't, you know, get it just right.
Yep,
like,
nothing pleases that
he'll
man.
pick apart it anyways, but you know, that's just
every time he comes on, he picks the most like non-mainstream, most absurd movie I've never heard in my life, and I'm like, okay, we're doing it, we're watching it, I guess we're doing it.
I went with him. I went and met up with him in Queens at like the Museum of the Moving Image. We watched Jean Delman, the 3.5 hour long movie with like the housewife that slowly goes fucking more and more like you know, insane. And so we sat there, and then at one point I left to go to the bathroom and came back, and he like bitched about it on stream. He's like, "Yeah, but you weren't even there for this part." I was like, "Yeah, but I watched it again. I made sure to like."
I went back.
Watched another 3.5 hours.
Isn't there an app that you can get on, or like a website that tells you when you're supposed to go to the bathroom?
Oh, it's called like pbreak.com or something along those lines. But yeah, it'll tell you when the best time to like take a bathroom break in a movie is. It's great.
God bless those people.
Yeah,
sitting there trying to figure out.
I had
for
this
all of us
with me when I saw Oppenheimer, and I did not pee once.
Wow, way to go!
Bladder control. That's amazing.
Oppenheimer. Speaking of,
I don't know whether to be proud or report you to your doctor.
Speaking of foreigners doing American accents, is there any Americans in that fully American movie?
I know, right? Yeah, it's like so many.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
There you go.
And he didn't even do a Boston accent, right?
No, I don't.
I respect the fact that they got Kenneth Branagh in that movie, right? Like they got him, but they got him to play a German, like the German guy. Like they got him to play the German scientist, and they're like, just try to do like a do like a half fucking like
You're classically
like
trained. You can
Dublin
do any
stuff,
accent you need to.
Yeah, well, I mean, every English person can do a German accent because that's what you learned. First thing is, you know, to make fun of the Germans. It's just, you know, I mean, that's why we got that TV show about My Neighbor Hitler.
Pissenheimer. Wow.
Okay.
Stevie coming through tonight with the good ones.
Well, I'm still reminded of the fact.
By the way,
I'm still reminded of the fact that Cillian Murphy's like, let me listen to Mr. Rogers, and I'll get that. That's how I'll do the Oppenheimer voice.
Wait, he did? I missed this.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm sure it came up whenever I was in a blackout.
I was like, I'll once you be my neighbor. I'm like, it did a better job than Tom Hanks did it.
That's true. That's true.
You know, I just didn't like Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers.
I didn't like Tom Hanks as Colonel Tom Parker either. I just generally speaking.
Yeah, same.
You got to get your snow job. This Colonel Tom Parker, I could like they kept on emphasizing the term snow job, and I was like, come on, man, don't do this to me.
He's what?
He's like I had to give Elvis a snow job, and I was like, come on, man, don't.
Did you run this by a young person? Probably not.
Also, too, when the cast of Barbie was doing like promo, people were like, "I don't want to hear Margot Robbie's Australian accent. I want her to hear her in an American accent." And I'm like,
I did not know.
Did she do promos with her?
She can talk whatever accent she wants, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Because she can do better accent work than any of you idiots can. I'm just saying. So don't bitch about her Australian accent.
I didn't know until The Big Short that she was Australian, because I saw Wolf of Wall Street first, and I just assumed like that was
She was
her
like
accent.
Brooklyn.
And then she brought her regular accent to the fucking explanations in The Big Short when they cut to her in the fucking bathtub. Weird cut, by the way. I don't know. They're like, here's Margot Robbie in a bathtub, and it's like
to explain. Shorts to you.
Yes, I'm paying attention, and now I know the plot. But like,
it was a bold maneuver, yeah, for sure.
It really comes from the first time you saw them. That's where you think they're from.
Yeah. You know what's funny? My uncle thinks Margot Robbie is a lot like Sharon Stone. Like, she's good for her looks, and like she did like Wolf of Wall Street and Big Short, and that's it. He's like, I just can't see her being a serious actress, and I'm like,
really?
What? Yeah. Yes. I'm like, Uncle, no.
Okay.
I mean, I will defend Sharon Stone. I think she's got more.
She's
range
more
than
than just her
credit for.
look. She's more than just
I mean,
spreading her
there's
legs and
there's nuance to a lot of her performances, but like Sharon Stone's not on the same level as Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Quick and the Dead, I believe.
I believe that she gave Joe Pesci head in that trailer.
Quick and the Dead now in the Criterion Collection, by the way. That's what.
About time.
Great news.
Yeah,
people don't get how hard an actor's job is sometimes when you're just watching on the screen. Like, I can just read those lines back. But man, you don't know what it's like when you gotta be up
early.
On my movie, 15 people, but on a big movie, 200 people standing around now watching you. Make sure you don't mess up. Go. Cry. Now cry right now. Now cry right now.
The great Joan Crawford would be like, which eye do you want me to cry from? Which eye? I'll do it. And I'm like, that's
why they always have that bit in like a lot of movies, but like how impressive it is that like there's some actresses that can literally cry on demand. Like they have.
I mean, that was in Babylon actually.
That was Babylon.
Yep.
I was on a movie. You guys did Independence Day recently, right?
On Independence Day.
Listen to that episode. Excellent episode.
Nice.
Way to go. Huge fan of Independence Day. Yeah. I worked on the second one. We were there. I don't know if you saw the second one.
No.
I did. Yes.
Not great.
Of course, Andy would.
We were there at the last scene. There's like big, battle going on. All these guys on the salt flats. It was a blue screen set or whatever, but still, you got like 50 people all there, and they picked this one extra. Be like, hey, you're getting a bump today because we're giving you a line. When we point at you, you got to say whatever the line was. Give them hell or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it was more words than that. I remember it being like 10 words maybe, and I was like, oh, that's cool, dude. I wish someone would do that for me. I could say a line and get paid $300 for the day.
Yeah,
and. They pointed. They were like, "Okay, here we go. Roll it. Action!" Everyone's running. Point to him. Do the word. Do the line. And I realized in that moment, like, I would be blank.
Right, this total joke.
What line? What line? Like, and then you're fired.
It's like you rehearsing that one line all day long. It's your turn, and you're like.
And now think about what lead actors do, where they just have pages and pages and pages. Like, especially
and all you gotta remember is to the trees or whatever. Yeah,
it's like reading the Oppenheimer script, knowing that it's in first person, and you're like,
so hard.
What?
Just being able to memorize all those lines and say it on command, dude, you're a good actor to me.
Especially when directors are like, you gotta be like a 1 or 2 take. We can't, we're on a schedule here. We can't be, we can't be goofing off. We can't be doing like 50 takes. We're not, And I'm like, okay,
yeah, totally.
I mean, honestly, Jersey Boys could have benefited from more than 1 or 2 takes because Clint Eastwood just not fond of his directing style.
I mean, that is his acting style,
right?
He just gets up and goes.
And he'll just do 1 take. Okay, we got it. Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's just acting with dialogue. But think about all the physical actors. Like you got to learn how to kick and punch stuff. At least
people who do their own stunts. Like Margot Robbie's notorious for doing her own stunts, and I'm like, why?
It's got to be so hard. You just got to learn to do all these different things.
Yeah, I mean, I did theater, and there was the time where I got shot on stage, and my roommate was in the scene, and he got thrown from like a high point, and fell like 20 feet every single night. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, I know one
Well,
person that does everything in one take, and that's J. Andrew Non-Offensive Accent World
Yeah,
with the plugs, which is
sure,
what we're gonna do.
yeah.
Yes, we got the plugs right now. You're watching us on YouTube, so please do those YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. And of course, the big ask that we always ask for you to do is to watch the video to the end, because you get the advantage of hearing that great Conan Neutron song. But we get
and
the
there's going to be, and this is the last one with this Conan Neutron song before our next Conan Neutron song.
Movie Night Automata, which is going to be starting next week with Blade Runner. We're doing Blade Runner next.
Yes.
So you're between Blade Runner and Buffalo 66, Rick.
Perfect. Couldn't imagine a better place to be.
Exactly. But the big thing that actually does help us out, because that lets other movie fans find us in the algorithm. So please sit back and relax when we're done. Enjoy that song and watch it to the video to the end. If you're over on Twitch, do the Twitch things. Throw us a sub. If you happen to have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe to us. Doesn't cost you a thing and actually helps us out a great deal. So thank everybody who's doing all that stuff. Find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and I think what's that other one? Threads. Right, we're on Threads.
Threads,
Man,
baby.
you guys are making me feel old. I'd never heard of these things.
They all suck. Don't do them.
Yeah.
Social media was a mistake.
Threads, not even once.
Yeah. But
I like Blue Sky, but like everybody seems to like not be doing Blue Sky anymore. Apparently, because I'm there. I don't know.
No, it's because people are bringing the porn bots on there now. Do you have any weird follows I've gotten in the last week? I'm like, what the? I'm like, who the hell are giving these codes out now?
The porn bots, apparently. I don't know. I had no idea.
Or they figured out how to hack them, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're on that too. Real enticing. Yeah, go get it between the porn bots, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like I always say, pick your poison for whatever social media you prefer and find us there.
We're over there poisoning ourselves on all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to get poisoned, go over to Patreon and support us over there. I don't know. Try to come up with the transitions here.
Okay.
On the fly. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Transition to getting poisoned.
I was gassing you up about a one-take Johnny, and you're not really deliberating, but that's okay.
No. I mean, I was ready to go for it. Y'all jumped in.
One take
but yeah, go. What? I'm reading here.
We call him One Take Andy. He always gets it in one.
But if you head over there onto Patreon, Patreon is a way to support this podcast, and you get to be able to access our after parties, which are basically an extra show we do for our fans. Which I don't know if we're doing one this week because it's a little late, but
We better be doing an after party.
Okay.
Oh,
Right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're down for it, I'm down too.
We had questions we wanted to ask you about the MCU, I think so.
Yeah,
I'm all for that.
I've talked my wife to death of the MCU, and I need someone else to listen to me about
I'm
it.
your gal.
That's perfect.
Yes. And of course, we got Conan over here, who just put out that great album, which I was listening to earlier this week. The Lung side still gets me, like how good it is. I'm just blown away by them.
Oh, yeah, well, our side, that's pretty good too.
It is. I actually convinced my wife to listen to it because she hates all the music I listen to.
Really?
But I'm just like you got to listen to Wild Antics because I think you'd actually like that one. And she's like, I don't know. I usually hate this stuff. You're like, okay, let me put it to you this way. This will be your favorite Conan Neutron song. And she's like, okay.
That was a sales pitch, huh? Okay.
That was a sales pitch.
This is gonna be your favorite Conan Neutron song.
But yeah,
Anyway.
so yeah, you can go over to Neutron Friends on bandcamp.com and support Conan there, get that, or get the entire catalog. You can do that all digitally, and it's a good price. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I need to write down on my notes.
I don't know what it is either, but it's a damn good deal, whatever it is.
And
bonus, I get money from it.
And of course, if you've been staring at Conan Neutron, you've been seeing the Protonic Reversal logo right behind him. Protonic Reversal is his music long form interview show, which is fantastic. Who you got coming up this week?
Steve Hodges from MSSV. He's played with Tom Waits. Did stuff with David Lynch in a bunch of different things. Really interesting drummer guy. Really awesome dude.
Oh yeah, he was the guy who kind of did what was it, Fishbone Trombone?
Fishbone Trombone? Is that what you said? It's Swordfish Trombone. Fishbone is a ska band.
Right.
They also have a trombone.
But now I want, they probably do. I now I want to hear what that mashup sounds like. Fishbone's actually pretty rad. Fishbone Trombone, amazing. One take Andy, everybody.
What's 11:11? Make a wish.
But
you didn't have to name the record, but you went for it, and
I went for it and failed. But yeah, I like his stuff because it sounds like a dying machine. It's great. So everybody go check that out on Thursday.
And MSSV, I just realized people don't know this. Mike Watt plays in MSSV. That's the big thing. Mike Watt for the Minutemen, and Steve Hodges and this guy Mike Bagetta. They're really great. For the five people that care, anyway.
And if you want to support Conan Neutron, you can go over to Patreon as well, and give him $1 a month, and you can get access to these episodes early.
That's right. Once again, give me money, thank you.
Yes. And Kristina, you're over there on Twitch.
Streaming this now on my channel.
Oh, fantastic!
Yep. But y'all did that part as well.
Thanks, Stevie. Appreciate you.
Did you have anything planned out this week, or just another?
Well, one of my favorite YouTubers discovered a very, very uncomfortable show called Stairway to Stardom. And it was filmed in some dude's basement. He liked kissing 9-year-old girls. It was weird. It was like 1970s through the 90s. It was like a public access show. Filmed. It's weird. And the kids have no talent.
Listen, kid.
And the kids
here's the pitch. Here's the pitch. It's a stairway, right? At the top of it, you get to be a star.
And his wife's creepy too.
And there's a wife. And she's creepy. It's great.
Also, we're going to cover the George Santos thing because let my man do what he wants to do. He did nothing wrong, okay? Let your gay characters be, interesting and diverse and unique and not like the rest.
Yeah, still money from those dogs.
He's my grandma's congressman.
He's the Barry Lyndon of Congress, and I stand by my assessment. Thank you.
And of course, you can also support Kristina over on Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Cosmopolitics.
Also, I'll be. Oh, come on, seriously, camera, don't do this to me right now. I'm also gonna be doing more cosplaying streams too, because I got me some Harley stuff. I'm looking forward to the Agatha show because then I could get a different Agatha cosplay that's not from WandaVision, that's sweaty and layered and heavy and ugh.
I got my Agatha shirt on today.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at you. Hey.
Nah, I should have cosplayed as Agatha for you.
By the way, sweaty, layered, and heavy is me live, and I'm not even kidding. I was thinking about it.
All these lights are killing me.
The music is heavy, my attire is layered, and I'm very sweaty. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you're playing sparkly jackets.
It's true. I add layers. I don't know why. It looks good. That's why.
And of course, you can go check out the Rick's Movie Solid Rock Trust on Tubi and YouTube, and probably a few other places as well. But I know they're streaming for free there.
Please do. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been telling everybody to check out this movie. Is there any
Prime too? I think.
Yeah, where you can actually give him money.
I think it's a rental still on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's streaming for free there yet.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
a couple places.
Some money. It's not like he's got most of it goes to Bezos, but he'll get a little.
So true.
Tubi's kind of killing it with how much content that they've kind of got on there for free.
If you are a horror slasher, like very, very like gory, like oh my god, you will love Tubi.
Yeah, I accidentally found a friend of the show Gabriel Horn's movie, Trapdoor at the Edge of the Universe on Tubi, which is if you haven't seen it, it's a blast.
Well, Solid Rock Trust on there. Buffalo 66 was on there, so I got to watch that for free when we did our episode. Like they've actually come in clutch. And then there's the other one. There's another one that's a lot like Tubi that does like a similar thing. I forget what the name of that one is, but it's like between the two of them, you can actually get like a lot of stuff now.
There's like Freevee, and there's one other one I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah,
I think I watched Miracle Mile, I think, was on that. I watched that recently. I was like, oh, Miracle Mile's on there. Cool. Anyway, I guess we're brought to you by Tubi because we certainly are giving them gas up.
Yo, if you want to watch the silent film version of Family Opera starring Lon Chaney, we watched that in my Discord during Halloween. It was weird because there's no music whatsoever. So we're like, yeah, we're reading the the cards and whatever the lines, and we're just talking over each other.
Well, you should have had a live band for that episode.
I know. I should have got like the piano music playing like on my Spotify or something like that. Be like, here we go.
Like the olden days.
Yeah.
It's all zither, weirdly. Yeah. Third man.
I mean, cool. I'll give it props. When I watched I was doing the thing for this, they had a version of the Great Train Robbery with the music, and it was 1080p. Like it was like pretty flawless, whatever. And I mean that movie's only like 13 minutes, so I guess doing the music doesn't take that much. But still, I mean, kind of cool they had it.
I'll do it. I'm around.
Conan,
yeah, we have the after party link. Rick, do you want to say anything as like final thoughts about?
Real quick, follow the Movie Night Extravaganza HQ site at Movie Night Extra on Letterboxd, since we didn't do Letterboxd well letters this time. So just please follow that account, because you may think you follow it, you may not. But anyway, we're all on
You
there
just might be following the host instead.
Yes, correct. Which you should, but you can also follow the show as well. That's it. Sorry, we went out of order on this. Everything's all akimbo. But yeah, final thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. This was great. I love all your little I don't know, what do you call the little white bubbles that you guys have in there?
It's our characters.
That's great. Thanks for having me on. You guys crack me up. You're hilarious. Keep up the great work. And for all your fans who are listening still, go check out my movie. And if you could, leave me a review somewhere. IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. We're like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes if we haven't sold it for you already or spoiled it too much. Go check it out.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's we'll definitely make sure we link in the show notes so people can check it out wherever.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is. Kristina?
I saw this film multiple times during the break.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. Because I was like, oh, like female-led heist movie? Let's do it. But yeah, I thought everything was like phenomenal, like from the cinematography, the editing, the pacing. Because I'm like, when it comes to heist films, they got to keep me on edge. So that was one of the things I loved about this movie. I look forward to actually seeing whatever you're coming up with next, Rick. So check this film out, guys. You can, as they said, you can find it on Tubi and on YouTube, and I mean, renting on Amazon Prime, but it's on Tubi.
All right, Conan.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is a very rock solid crime thriller that largely consists of one actress in the theater of the mind. It's very engrossing. The plot twists are earned, and you did not have all of them spoiled even by listening to this. Very clever thriller, and it satisfies, right? With a single location, a lot of inventive storytelling. I do not know the exact budget, but I can certainly tell you that I've seen movies with 10 times more money that didn't compel at all. So that says a lot.
Marvel movie these days.
I think that it was such a pleasant surprise. It's kind of the discovery that I wish I saw more of with all these sort of wide-ranging of filmmaking opportunities. And it's honestly great to be able to go over it with you, Rick.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys both. You're too kind.
All right. Andy?
One of my favorite writers is Elmore Leonard, and before he passed away, he wrote a book about like how to write. And his rules for writing is always like, don't do this unless you're so and so. Like don't write about weather unless you're this guy who could really write weather. That kind of stuff. And if he was to write one about screenwriting, he would probably say something like, don't show, don't tell, unless you're Rick Ives. And you're doing solid rock
very nice.
There we
Definitely
go.
broke a lot of filmmaking rules of show don't tells. Yeah.
And that, not every movie should be able to get away with that, but I am so glad that you found a way to take the rule, break it, and make something just absolutely terrific.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So we're gonna do after party. I have the link in the private chat.
I just threw the link for all the viewers too. So if you want to hang out, remember, You can watch it live, but you got to be a patron if you want to see it like not live.
Yeah,
so.
you only get this one.
Yeah, if you're watching us later, you got to pay us money.
Notice a running theme on all of our plugs. Anyway,
give us money.
Well, at some point, I need money. Like at some point, I'd like to make money.
At some point, it would be nice. Yeah.
It'd be nice. Be able to see a movie.
All right.
Thank you to our current patrons. We appreciate
it.
it.
At least have to pay for the movies we watch. Like Jesus. Like. All right. We'll see you over there.
Thanks.